Hi, and welcome to The Art of Film Funding. I'm your co-host, Claire Papin, along with writer-producer Carol Dean, author of the best-selling book, The Art of Film Funding, and host of this show. Carol is the president of From the Heart Productions, a nonprofit organization that has supported filmmakers with the Roy W. Dean Grant, fiscal sponsorship, education, and resources for over 30 years. Carol also teaches the Learn Producing class. Each class features an industry expert guest instructor and is designed to give the information, guidance, and support to become a successful producer. You can learn more about this class and all of From the Heart Productions offerings at FromTheHeartProductions.com.
What if you could see what studios and streamers find wrong with your script? Well, you'll learn how to do this today.
So glad you could join us on The Art of Film Funding, where we explore innovative strategies, creative insights, and the evolving tools that help filmmakers bring their visions to life. I'm your co-host, Claire Papin, and today Carol Dean with From the Heart Productions and I are diving into one of the most transformative shifts happening in our industry right now. How artificial intelligence is reshaping the way films are developed, financed, and positioned for success. Imagine being able to understand your audience before you even shoot your first scene, to test your story, evaluate casting choices, and anticipate market performance, all from your script. That's no longer science fiction. It's happening now. Benjamin Schnau is a multilingual actor, producer, host, book author, and public speaker, native in English and German, plus conversational French, who also built a successful career as a business development and account executive. He's now overseeing client accounts globally within the film and streaming division of AI tech company Largo, the platform that turns creative intuition into strategic impact through audience predictions, AI-powered content tests, and simulated focus groups. Combining his tech background with his experience as an actor working on feature films and TV shows himself, he is now leveraging his experience to support producers, directors, and filmmakers taking the next step in getting their project off the ground with the assistance of AI. Benjamin has a unique perspective that's incredibly relevant for filmmakers navigating today's competitive landscape. And now I am delighted to turn it over to Carol Dean.
Thank you, Claire, and welcome everyone. This is such an important conversation because filmmakers are constantly looking for ways to reduce risk and strengthen their projects. Many studios and streamers are now using AI for script decisions. So the main benefit for you is for you to be able to see your script through a Largo report where it shows you areas that you can make important improvements before submitting to anyone. And this is so important for the writers of today. Benjamin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Well, let's start at the beginning. Where is Largo based and what inspired its founding?
Right. Oh, how much time do you guys have? Oh my goodness, that's such a long story. But to make it really short in a nutshell, the company Largo was actually founded in Switzerland in 2018. by Semi Arpar, who is the CEO of the company. And we're now kind of like working globally, right? So that means we have people in the UK, in the US, obviously, even working with people in Australia. And at the very beginning, we always had the idea, yes, we knew AI is coming and AI is not going to stop, right? But we wanted to make sure that we give the right tool to any kind of aspiring like filmmaker, independent filmmakers, producers, screenwriters, even actors who want to shoot their own projects to analyze their script, to analyze their stories, to make sure they're going the right direction. And that's kind of the starting point for us back in 2018.
Great. So tell us how you train Largo to review scripts.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Thanks for asking. And I see it every time when new clients joining us, right? They're always asking also the same question you just asked me. So how does it work, right? How can I make sure that we go in the right direction, as I just explained? And it's very interesting because what Largo does in a nutshell is as soon as you upload, let's say, your script or even just the treatment, right? So it doesn't even need a script at the very beginning. Let's say you're like a new producer in the market, right? And you want to work on your first feature film, let's say, and you have a treatment, you have an idea, and you have all the beats laid down on paper. You can even just upload a treatment, and the system will then run the analyses, finding most similar projects in the marketplace that have been released, and pulls in all these historical data points and runs it against your story. So the idea is to really find comparisons that are closest to your narrative and your storyline. Because at the end of the day, it all starts with the story, right? And that's really also what Laura was focusing on at the beginning.
My heavens, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I love Largo reports, but I didn't know you could take an idea and put it in there. That's brilliant.
Absolutely. And I appreciate we talking about this because a lot of people always think, oh my God, I have, and I talk to people every day and they're always telling me, I don't have the script ready right now. I'm still working on the dialogue and the characters and the description. And I was like, don't worry. If you have the main beats laid down, right, the system still has to identify the story from the beginning to the end. That is still very, very important, right? But if you have all the beats down, which is normally how a good script starts, right? You have all the beats in your mind and you put it down on paper, you can already upload that because for the system, it can still identify and read the whole story and can still run these comparisons in the marketplace and pulls in those data points. So very, very effective.
Right. So I've seen it, what wonderful job it does with scripts.
Yeah.
Walk us through the process when you upload a script,
Yeah.
what actually happens behind the scenes with Largo?
Right. Oh, yeah. Also, how much time do you have? No, but the thing is, it's a very good question too. So, what really happens is, so let's say you upload the script, right? At the very beginning, as you go on the platform, you will create your project, right? So that's how it starts. And the very important thing for the system is to really learn at the beginning, okay, what is the project about? What is the feature about? And by the way, we also work with people working on documentaries. We're working with people working with animation, even, right? Or even short films also work too. But let's say we focus on a feature film right now. As you upload the project, let's say you want to work on your project the first time, it's very important for the system to understand, okay, what are the project details, right? That means, okay, what's the country of the producer, right? What's the country of release? Also, what are the financials? What are the characters? And what really helps, right? It's not necessary, but what could help is, let's say you worked on your treatment and you have a very early pitch deck ready, that you can upload the pitch deck to the platform and the system creates the project. And that's kind of the foundation of the first analyses, right? So that's what we need to understand, okay? Based on the budget that you now put down, your first estimate, your characters, your country of release, country of producers, now uploading your script or your treatment, the system will now identify those most similar movies in the marketplace based on this foundation and the script and runs it again against your script and your project to make sure that we can now even go into detail and show you exactly, okay, this is like from a creative standpoint, the analyses, but also the financial forecast. Because just so you guys know, Largo is not just giving you creative insights, it also provides you with financial forecasts for box office and streaming and runs these numbers against your budget to show you a return on investment even. So hey, with this budget I put down today, with the script that I uploaded right now, with the numbers that the system is providing me with, and now running it against my budget, I can see, okay, am I already in the plus? return on investment? Would I make money off of my project right now? Or should I still tweak maybe the script a little bit, maybe working on the budget a little bit, maybe running different scenarios to make sure that you find your sweet spot, as I always call it, right? So Largo is really good and flexible to then just find the sweet spot. So, at the end of the day, I want to be the creative, I want to be the producer, but I also have to make sure as the filmmaker per se, that I'm also kind of having a positive outcome so I can work on my next project moving forward, right? So that's also what filmmaking is about. So it's also like a financial aspect to it. And we combine all of this in one platform, if you will.
Fantastic.
Long
Well,
answer, I know, but I had to say it.
okay. Well, one concern most of the filmmakers who are very creative, they
Yeah,
have one concern they have is losing the art
yeah,
to technology. So how does Largo balance creative intuition and feelings, etc.,
yeah.
with data-driven insights?
That is, I mean, honestly, Carol, I really appreciate you asked the question. I mean, as Claire pointed out at the very beginning, I'm a creative guy myself, right? So I'm an actor in the first place, right? I also worked on productions myself, and I'm a creative guy. So, and I want to keep that, right? That's very, very important for me, working even on my own projects. The beauty about Largo is, and I can't stress this enough, Largo is not here to replace the creative, let's say, input that you can have as a creative person. That is very, very important for us, right? So you can see Largo more as an assistant to your creative work, right? So I give you an example. Again, let's say you uploaded the script to the platform, to your project, right? The system runs the script and gives you now analyses from a creative standpoint and also the financial forecast standpoint. But let's focus on the creative side of things. So one of the analyses that the system is giving you is called genre recipe. Right. So it breaks the script down into different sections to show you exactly, okay, what section is representing what genre. And that's kind of very interesting. So the system is kind of like identifying all of this and it's kind of like showing you as it stands today. The system will not then tell you, okay, based on what we now analyzed, we now recommend you, Benjamin or Carol, that you now put in this or that line or this word or this dialogue. So the system, we try to keep ourselves out of the creative process because we want to let you being creative. We want to have you being the creative person in this whole process. So what you normally do is what our clients do is they can now see the results on the recent script they uploaded and then can just go back within their script and just have some changes and now just upload a new draft of that script based on the changes they made and can just see now the comparison. Right. So they run the first one with the old script with the first draft. Now they run a second analysis with the second draft, and they still keep the first one, obviously. Everything you run on Largo within your project, you will keep. So you always have a great view on the different analyses and can just compare. Okay, that was with the first draft. That's now with my changes. How did that impact the overall genre recipe? And also, for example, the emotion analyses by the audience, right? So a lot of different factors. But just to give you an idea, that's how it kind of works.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah,
very good. So who is Largo built for? Are we
mhm,
talking indie filmmakers, studios,
yeah.
producers, or all of these?
Pretty much all of the above, to be honest, Carol. I mean, yes, we have a lot of people like independent producers, independent filmmakers for sure, right? Especially people who working on budgets between, let's say, 1 to 5 million. We have a huge range of people working within this kind of budget range, but we also have mid-sized studios. We also have, a large studios who kind of use it already in certain departments, right? I mean, AI to the big studios, AI is not a new thing, right? I mean, you have to be, you would be ignorant to believe that the studios, the big studios, right, do not use AI yet. They do obviously use it, right? So we even work with studios like that because they still want to have an external tool that they can use to compare even their own numbers that they're already running in the background. Right. But
Yeah,
for us, for Largo, the idea was always like, hey, if big studios already have leverage, they already have access to technology like this, we want to open up the door to independent filmmakers, making sure, hey, you know what, you can use the same technology. You can use us, for example, and get kind of these insights that you need to make sure you're on the right path to create your movie that you believe in, right? So that was really the core idea of how we even started at the beginning.
okay. Now, you mentioned something about focus groups, which
Yeah.
is fascinating. So, what are they and how do they compare to traditional audience testing?
Yeah. No, that's also a great question. Thanks for asking. So we call it SFGs, simulated focus groups, right? And as the name is already saying it, it's a simulated focus group, but it's based on real results of focus groups traditionally, right? That you kind of had sitting in a movie theater. And then at the end of the movie, you gave them a certain questionnaire and just asked for feedback, right? So what we basically did is we have access to all these public data points of already run focus groups, right? So let's say if you are a client of Largo and you come on the platform and you have the feature of a simulated focus group, you can again upload your script, upload your project, right, and run a simulated focus group. And what it does, it will then compare similar movies again that you have focus groups for that have been run traditionally, and we still kind of simulated those feedbacks now into our platform. That means, I'll give you an example. Let's say you watch a very um, romantic scene between a couple, right? That very romantic scene, and you had a similar movie, a similar storyline, and you have a focus group for this movie that came out, let's say, a couple of years ago, and you had, for example, a guy called Richard. He watched that scene and he was very moved by the scene, right? He really felt that it was very emotional for him. And this movie, it was so close to the storyline and very similar maybe to the storyline that you know uploaded to the system. That could mean that somebody like Richard could be simulated for the same kind of feel that your scene is giving now to the audience as well. Right. So that could mean Richard, he's in like a demographic of like 40 to 50. He's like, you know, a black man works in an office, for example, and he was so moved by this particular scene, which has similar patterns than your scene right now that you uploaded, which is an indication for us at Largo that your scene has the same kind of feel to it that's going to be perceived by the audience, specifically like someone like Richard. So that's how we kind of connect the dots. That's how we simulate it. It's still down to the scene and the scenario and what's happening within your script, but then finding similar patterns of focus groups that have been run in the past and then kind of pull in those data points and run it against your scene that is closest to the scene that they even watched. Right. And that's how we kind of created, because we came to the conclusion at some point, to make it very simple also, that everybody was always trying to get a feel for, okay, am I going the right direction for marketing purposes, right? For demographics. Am I hitting the right target, the right country even, right? And we want to make sure that people now have the chance to do not spend all that money, because running a focus group traditionally costs a lot of money, right? You have to rent the movie theater. You have to
Yes.
get the people together. You have to sit them down. You maybe have to entertain them, obviously, not just watching the movie. You have to get quality results, obviously, and feedback, and you have to consolidate all that data. This is now all combined within Largo, makes it so much easier for you guys to just run this SFG as a simulated focus group to get the same results and even more accurate than ever before. Because it's kind of not just one focus group that we run against your project, it's multiple focus groups, obviously, at the same time, and then finding the average, obviously, and building kind of a average, feedback line that we then, present to the client.
I think
I know
it,
it sounds very complicated what I'm trying to say, but I hope it makes sense in a way that you can now just use everything that you might heard of and know of, historical or traditional focus groups, and just do it in the platform in just a couple of minutes.
this is much cheaper, much more
Absolutely.
efficient because you don't have your friends and family in the focus group.
That's
And
true. I mean, that can be part of it, yes, but you just don't want to have your family, obviously, right? And I think people, and it's funny that we talk about it, Carol, because I see it every day working very closely with my clients. Clients normally are very surprised about the results, because as you know, let's say you're writing your script, right? And you kind of like, at some point, it always happens, right? You end up in your own bubble. Right? And you perceive your own script a certain way and you believe about the scene a certain way, but that doesn't mean that, Richard, let's say, that I just mentioned, is feeling the exact same way that you felt, because watching a movie, listening to a song is all very subjective, right? Just because I like the movie doesn't mean that you like the movie, Carol, right? So it's very, very subjective, very specific. So that's what we want to make sure, that you just don't have your family, but giving you now the opportunity to even go and kind of explore different demographics even. And our clients are surprised and even changing strategies very often, feeling, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that this movie is even for Gen Z now. That's even comes up very recently that people realize, oh my God, even like the new kids, the new generation would even watch it. So let me just work on my strategy, even working with my sales agent maybe to try to find different path now, maybe even increasing the market, you know? So it's a very interesting journey for most of them.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a
Yeah.
great analysis of what it does. Great. Now, let's talk about the main report.
Mm,
What kind of analysis does that do? Once it reads your script, it comes
yeah.
back with a first analysis, right? Can you tell
Yeah.
us more about that?
Absolutely. And I've tried to summarize it because what happens is running one analysis will then give you access to kind of like, I call them sub-analyses, if you will. That means the system is breaking down the main analysis into different sections. And I give you a very brief overview so everybody in the audience who's listening in right now is kind of getting a first feel for it. So as I mentioned already, the first one that you're going to see is the genre recipe, right? As I just mentioned, the system is breaking it down into those different genres that can go from, let's say, thriller, crime, drama, romance, right? Whatever you work on, obviously, the system will break it down in percentages and gives you an idea. And it will also already give you a comparison button too. That means at that point, you will even see, as I mentioned earlier, the most similar movies in the marketplace already lined up in Largo. So you can see, oh, my drama right now, as an example, I just make this up. My drama now, this romantic between this couple scenario is a little bit like La La Land because Largo is now recommending La La Land being very close to my idea. And it kind of now compares even, okay, what's the different genre that comes up in La La Land and also in my movie? How does that really compare? You can see it line by line in parallel, which is really, really important, really helpful. The next one is also, as I already mentioned, we talked about the audience, is emotion analyses. And that again is also very key for most people really getting an idea. You know, you want to put yourself into the audience shoes. Hey, how do they feel emotionally about every single scene that my script is providing them with, right? So you can have a breakdown. The system breaks it down again into different sections and now has feelings of like positive emotions like joy, trust, surprise, all the way down to more negative emotions like disgust, sadness, fear, right? So all the emotions that us as human beings can experience, right? And that's also very interesting to for a lot of clients, to be honest. That is always an eye-opening moment for most people realizing, oh wow, I didn't personally, I wrote it that way, so I felt a certain way. But now seeing that 50% of the audience would actually feel like sad about this moment, it's very surprising for most people, right? So that's the moment when most people go back into their script and maybe want to have some adjustments on certain scenes, right? Anyway, so that's the second one. The third and fourth, I just summarize them a little bit. We also have then sub-analyses when it comes to character analyses, for example. That's also very interesting, and I definitely want to stretch that a little bit and also stress the fact that you can also add actors and actresses to your characters. I give you a quick example. So let's say you work on this, I make this up, right? You work on an action movie. And you have a guy called Michael. He's the lead, right? And you're like a big fan of Mission Impossible. You love Tom Cruise. I mean, who doesn't, right? Tom. Everybody loves Tom Cruise. So you love Tom Cruise, but you kind of know already, it's my first feature, let's say, but I have this idea for this action movie and I can, do it even cheaper. I don't have to have a lot of budget, but I would love the idea to have Tom Cruise attached to it, even that I know he's too expensive. So what you can do with Largo is you can still add Tom Cruise, for example, to character Michael, right? You save it and you then run the analyses. What the system will do, it will give you an idea what the content match is of Tom Cruise to the character Michael. So you will see if Tom would actually fit the part of Michael or maybe not, right? So the system will tell you in certain percentages how much does Tom fit the character of Michael. But on top of it, and that's also more important for most people, is who else does the system recommend? Because the system will give you additional actors besides Tom Cruise, right? So the system will take Tom Cruise's metrics into account, maybe his look, obviously, his experience working these action movies. connecting it to character Michael. And then besides Tom Cruise, you maybe have people coming up like, Owen Wilson. I make this up, but Owen Wilson or whoever, right? Who might be somebody that could fit the part. And I definitely want to stress the fact because I always talk to my clients about this and I'm telling them, you know what? With my acting background and living in LA for so long, I was working for production companies myself, and because of my acting background, I was responsible for casting at some point. And it's really, really hard to find actors that fit your budget, right? You can go on IMDb, but it's not really as easy to just do a little search or something on IMDb to find maybe five guys who could fit the part of Michael. So what I'm trying to say is the system can help you to uncover hidden talent that you might never heard of, right? A guy that is probably like in the range of your budget, has a great look, is like an upcoming star, right? And would be perfect for Michael, right? The idea is for Largo to help you finding these people that you can then use and just reach out maybe to management and agents and just have a conversation about the project, which I think is very valuable, right? If you basically have a certain budget in place. So that is also something. And the last bit, obviously, last but not least, is the financial forecast, right? I mean, honestly, I think that is one of the key things for people also who normally join us. They want to get an idea, as I mentioned at the beginning, what is the financials telling me? Am I on the right track financially? Does it make sense even for me to work on the project, right? I mean, you can have the best idea on the planet. You got to be honest. You can have the best script on the planet. If the numbers not working out, it's going to be really, really hard to, turn your dream, your idea into reality. We got to be honest about this. So for us at Largo, with the system, with technology, but also with my help, with the team's help, we really helping the clients to identify, hey, what's your budget right now you have, right? That's always my first question. But then the second question is, okay, is that the budget that you need as a minimum to shoot the project, to actually get the production done? And most of the time, people telling me, oh, you know what? We would talk about 3 million right now. I know that I can also do it for 1.5 or 1 million. I know.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's great. That's good that you're telling me this because I would definitely recommend for you to now with me, with my support, to change the budget to 1 million and just run another analysis because we want to see how does that turn out now for you just lowering the budget to 1 million, adding the same countries, right, of territories that you want to release it in, right, for box office and for streaming, and then really see how it would move the needle in your return on investment. And most people are really surprised. A shift of 500K or a million can have a huge impact on your return on investment, depending on your strategy, right? So that's how we kind of work in the numbers to make sure that they have a good package. Because coming full circle, the idea with Largo is also to then use those analyses and even being able to download them as a PDF. So you can download everything that I just mentioned as a PDF and for example, create your own pitch deck, right? So if let's say you have an upcoming meeting with an investor, right? A lot of people, our clients talking to investors, they want to make sure they provide the right numbers. They run those financial forecasts, as I just mentioned, and they feel like, okay, Ben, that's it. I got it now. I think we worked on the numbers. It makes sense. Let me just present that. They simply download it as a PDF. They take this document. They talk to investors. They're running the numbers. Everybody's satisfied, they're coming back and usually get some funding in, right? Or maybe go into the second one. And you know how it is. Investment is a journey too, right? You have to talk to many people, obviously, to get your project funded. But that's how we want to make sure to create this foundation, very stable, accurate foundation to make sure that the people get to the next level of their project, right? That's the bottom line.
Yes, well done. Well, as far as casting,
Yeah.
Largo told one of my people, here's some suggestions, and
Yeah.
these two men have a better, will bring you more money in foreign distribution.
Yeah.
They were equal in popularity in the US,
Yeah.
but I thought that was terrific because look, this will enhance your foreign distribution if you consider these people. That's way outside our thinking normally.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. I appreciate you mentioned that. Absolutely. So that is really something. And it's interesting. We had the session last night and I talked to somebody from Canada, right? And one of my clients and we talked about something and she also mentioned we have a lot of Canadian talent that maybe people never heard of before, right? So it's also something that you have to take into consideration. And she was already thinking okay, we have certain talent in Canada that people that are known in Canada, but what does it mean for my project if I want to release the movie in the US or even in Europe, obviously, because most people also want to go to the UK, right? So it makes maybe sense even to have an idea if your strategy is your release country, your main release country that you pick in Largo is the United States, then I would definitely recommend that you try to add certain people that are kind of known in the US. It doesn't mean that has to be an A-list star. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't have to be that. But somebody who's maybe upcoming, somebody who did a couple of TV shows, maybe one or two feature films that created some buzz, right? And the system will provide you with that. And that's the beauty. Because honestly, I mean, Carol, the bottom line is, and I talk from personal experience, I remember being in LA, working with production, and it never changed really. When you kind of sitting in a room with people and you kind of brainstorm about certain names that you want to attach to your project, everybody always has the same names in mind. Always. It's just 5 to 10 names that we all seriously, right? Because they're kind of like hype right now. They're hot people, right? So you always think about these people. But what about the 50, 150 people that are kind of more under the radar right now that you might have heard of, but you just forgot about them? And Largo basically just reminds you of these people, making sure that you take them into consideration. And I think that could be a huge benefit, obviously, if you want to go, as you just said, foreign distribution, especially the UK market, European market, Australia, obviously, too. We have clients in Australia too. They're thinking about releasing it in the US. And they're thinking, yes, we cannot just maybe focus on Australian talent. We want to make sure that we have at least 1 or 2 people that are known in the US, right? So we're coming always full circle with that. So thanks for saying this. I appreciate that.
Yes. And there is a documentary called What's His Name? Question mark. And it's all about actors that we all recognize, but we
Oh
don't
yeah.
know their names.
It's
It's-
so funny you say that. It's so, I mean, I have this comment again, as my acting background. I've talked to actors, obviously, I have a lot of friends who are also actors, right? And it's just so funny you say that because don't we know like these police officers always in the second row, right? Always behind the main guy. You look at the face and he's always a cop, right? You know the guy, but you
yeah,
don't know the name, but you know the face for decades. And it's funny because those people are recognizable, right? They're recognized by audiences. And yes,
yes,
they
we
have a
like
certain yeah, they have a lot of solid work and they're very professional and they know what they're doing. And you can probably, and again, it's not about money per se, but again, if you have to watch your budget and you can get somebody like this, right? Instead of, let's say, Tom Cruise, I make this up, then yes, you should definitely go for it. You should definitely try that, you know? That's what I'm always saying.
it works. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
We also had a report that came in for a woman who had been in the industry for a long time. And she had put down where what studio she thought would be the best for marketing her.
right.
And Largo said, no, this other studio would be better for you. And when she researched it, she was shocked and said, Largo's right. I never thought of that company.
Right.
So you do have marketing concepts in there for people.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. You can do like even we have a search bar, if you will. So what you can do is the system is also asking you at the beginning, right? I skipped a couple of steps, but part of the country of main release, country of producers, the system also has a field, for example, when it asks you about the distribution company. If you have a certain distribution company, you can already add the company, or you can even add a company that you feel like, okay, I would like to have them releasing my movie. You can do that too, right? And on top of it, you even have a search bar where you can kind of navigate the budget of movies you want to have come up to see, okay, what kind of distribution companies actually work on these movies within the same budget range that I have. So
Oh,
you can
that's
do your
great.
research, which I think is a great tool, you know?
Oh, that's worth a lot of money right there.
Absolutely. Right.
That's a week research to find that. Well, speaking of finding places, how do people find your Largo website?
Yeah, absolutely. You can just find us at www.largo.io. So IO. And you can basically just get in touch with us, right? You can also send us an email, info@largo.io, info@largo.io. And we're more than happy. Normally, what happens at the beginning, guys, we have a first demo, right? So obviously, what I just told you right now, we also want to show you in the first place, right? We want to get you kind of a first feel for the platform. So we have certain demos of projects that we can show you, right, to really get you all the insights in like in the first demo that I just explained briefly today. And then we're going to talk about certain packages that we have, right? So that is something that you're going to discuss with us, with the sales team, and more than happy to give any insights and any kind of recommendations, obviously, on that point.
Great. So basically, let's recap how filmmakers actually use the data. What decisions does it help them make that they couldn't confidently make
Yeah.
before?
Absolutely. So if I would summarize it in a nutshell, right, what Largo helps with is definitely two components. The first component is the creative insight, right? When it comes to, okay, do you maybe still want to adjust your script based on genre recipe, based on emotion analyses of what the audience perceive? That's the first thing. The second thing, obviously, is also the financial forecast section. We have to say this, right? When it comes to, hey, you don't really have a feeling yet what countries you want to go for. For box office and streaming, you have a budget in mind, but you do not really have any strategy. The system will show you, based on the countries you pick, what kind of revenue you can expect, right? That's the beauty. The system will show you per country, this is the revenue stream that you can expect. And based on that, I would say the creative insights to move your story forward if you still want to improve it creatively, plus the financial forecast to get the numbers ready to a good stage, to find your sweet spot, to then present it to investors, to get the money you need to move it from pre-production into production, as an example.
Wonderful. Well, what I like is financing because this is what I do. I help people raise money
Yeah,
for their films. So the financing, I hate to say, but it's a challenge. And
always.
you really have a lot of work to do there. So what do you think are the greatest benefits that give filmmakers, that you give filmmakers for them to show to investors and distributors to close a deal?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the bottom line is you got to close a deal at some point, right? So I
Right.
think what we see happening, and you probably notice better than I do, right? When it comes to investors, they always obviously have certain questions, right? I mean, what about the number? Where did you get the numbers from? So how can I believe those numbers, for example, right? And I still have to come back to what I said at the very beginning. We used to just really just like wig it, right? So we just like wigging the numbers. So we kind of like do not really now know really the numbers. Back in the days, we just winging it. We just try to make up certain numbers of project that we know made this amount of money. The idea with Largo is to get away from this kind of just winging it, but have it more precise, have it more accurate based on real numbers that movies generated at the box office, also streaming numbers based on certain behavioral, like, customer experiences that we now pull in to show you those numbers are predictable, those numbers are accurate based on real data points. Because the question will come up, how do you know that this movie will make this money in this country? Then you can go back to your analysis and say, you know what, we run the numbers. We know our movie, our storyline is closest to movie ABCD, and we analyzed it with Largo, and we can tell you movie ABCD made this amount of money, let's say, in the United Kingdom. And based on the numbers, we build the average and run it against our project based on the budget that we have. And we can, for example, tell you now that we have a return on investment with the money we put down, with the revenue we expect coming out of these countries of, let's say, 75%. And Largo will show this as a document, fully combined and summarized for theatrical, box office, box office streaming, but also not just streaming and theatrical, even TV distribution long term too, right? So three elements plus ROI summarized in one document that you can present to effectively close a deal with an investor, right? Or even what we do have coming back from investment is also like talking to sales agents, maybe having some pre-sales coming up. Having certain sales agents working with you, finding distribution companies, working with you, maybe commission based. This is also something that we see happening, that sales agents just like the project so much, they believe in the numbers, they get the numbers, they feel like, okay, we want to work with you, finding distribution, or you have a minimum guarantee even by certain distribution companies based on these numbers, right? So we see all three. Right? As you probably know, Carol, it's kind of a never-ending story when it comes to investment. And it's always like, okay, chicken or egg, right? So what comes first? And we have people that were straight to investment firms, or let's say private investors, asking for money based on the results and based on the story and everything. We also do have people they go the round, maybe having sales first, having minimum guarantees first, and then based on this guarantee, also going to investors to get them even more attracted to the project. So we see different scenarios, if you will, right? So there is no right or wrong answer.
Okay, well, I love the new thing you have with the storyboard and
Yeah.
the budget breakdowns, because storyboards are expensive and it means somebody else has to see your vision. And I think Largo's storyboards are brilliant. So
Yeah.
tell us about
No,
that.
no, I appreciate it. Thanks for saying that. That's really awesome. That is one of the newest features we also have, the storyboard. So it's also very nice because again, we have scenarios where people feel like, I have this script, right? And I have an idea in my head, but I'm not I can't really draw. I can't really know how to do like a mood board or like a storyboard at the beginning, right? To get certain visuals. Or we even have people who want to use it for pitch decks, even. Also, really great tool. So the storyboard feature provides you even with different illustrations at the very beginning. So you can pick how it should look like, different designs that you can pick from. And it's very simple. You upload your script, right? And the system, based on what you picked as an illustration, will provide you for every scene, provide you with a like visual, like an image, if you will, with the characters that are in the scene, and it provides you with the kind of scenario that you see on an image. And the beauty is, if you still feel like, okay, that's already very close to what I was expecting, what I had in mind, but let me just tweak the description a little bit, because what you have the option to then click into the edit button. You can now tweak the description a little bit and then save it, and the system will be regenerated. That it means you always have the power, you have the control to even kind of change your image in the moment, if you will, on the spot, which I think is powerful, you know. So you can kind of still work it as you kind of go along the process, which is great.
But see, that's your communication with your director of photographer.
Yeah,
Right. This is your way to talk to all of your cast or your crew. Say, look, here's what we plan. Any ideas? So, they have meetings, and that's this coordination between producers and people on the crew and cast. It enhances the film. So now they have visuals to work with. This is
absolutely.
wonderful.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so key at the very beginning, right? I mean, you have a great script, but I think most people, and I see this every day, most people, and not everybody, but most people are very visual people, right?
Yes.
They want to see, okay, well, what do you mean by this line? What do you mean by this scene? Like, have you something to show, right? And
Yeah,
yes, you do now. You can use Largo to create that scene as a visual, which I think is nice, right? Even for your pitch deck, as we just discussed. So it's also great to create that.
it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So now the pitch events are what I love. Uh,
Yeah.
so tell the audience about how kind you are. You choose people to pitch their films at the three top film festivals in the world. So explain that.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you mentioned that. So, yeah, we just have Cannes actually coming up, right? Funny, we would talk about the pitch events. We have Cannes coming up, south of France, right? Cannes Film Festival, one of the biggest, right? Globally on the planet, I would say, but very popular also in Europe. Have a lot of Americans even coming, right? So Australians, and what we do, we offer our clients with certain packages to be able to apply to submit for a seat to be eligible to pitch their project on stage, on site, in real life to people in the audience at those festivals, which I think is a great opportunity. I did it so many times, right? When coming to Cannes, we do EFM in Berlin, and we also do AFM in LA, back in LA now. And it's always very nice to still have this kind of face-to-face interaction, right? Because yes, we talk about it like technology and using systems and stuff like that, but we're still filmmakers. We're still creative people. We love working with people, right? And for us, that was also like a key component that besides the technology, you have managers like me working directly, like as a human being with my clients, right? So not just giving them like the technology, but still a person that they can talk to, but on top, providing you with the opportunity to apply for a seat on stage so you can pitch your event to producers, investors, filmmakers, co-producers in the audience, distribution companies, sales agents at CAN, right? At AFM, at EFM, which is a huge opportunity for all of our clients, right? To make sure, hey, we have now the stage for us. We can pitch our project to people that we want to get close to. And that is a really rare opportunity, right? And people really appreciate that. And that's really how we combine all the effort, right? And we are also, on top of that, I don't want to miss that, we also have like an online platform that's called Largo Connect. So what normally happens is, so as you, let's say, come on board, you run your first project, right? You run your first analyses, and then you run a couple more. At some point, you maybe found your sweet spot, right? And you're ready to go. What we also offer is that you can now publish your project on the Largo Connect. I call it marketplace, if you will. That means this marketplace is open to different people in the industry, right? Could be investors, producers, everybody who has access can now look up all these projects by our clients and can dive into those analyses. So what you see in the first place on the back end, you can now publish that to people that you want to reach out to and have those people look at your analyses, making sure that they feel, hey, I love that the numbers look good. I love the story. I connect with the storyline. Let me reach out to them. I want to talk to the guys. I want to make sure that I'm going to be part of the project. And those are the two things that we offer on top of the technology part, if you will, which I think is a great opportunity.
Exactly. Well, I love the pitch events. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And it gives everybody something to strive for, you know. It's like a prize, just getting to pitch is a prize. And then you get to go to these places that you wanted to go to anyway, but you didn't want to spend the money. Now you have a reason and a write-off.
Very true. I mean, yes. I mean, you have to be honest about this. Yes, in order to get access to those festivals, right?
Yeah,
Yes, you have to pay money for it. And me going to those festivals, right? I mean, it's always great to connect with people, reconnect, meeting new people, right? But it is also like a huge crowd of people, right? And I
yeah.
think the hardest part for everybody, not just like our client, everybody, is like, how do you stand out? How do you make yourself heard or seen? And I think having the opportunity to be on stage in front of like people who are at the festival as you speak is, I mean, that's really hard to get, right? If you're not part of Largo, it's really, really hard to become like part of the pitch event within the industry, within the festival. So, but we kind of like identified that very early, and that thing that's why we added that to our packages too, right? I mean, you are even like, from the Heart Productions, right? You're like part of us, they're like been working with us for so long already too. So we always appreciate also your input, your insights as well. And I think us together partnering also when it comes to pitch events is a great benefit even for our clients, right? So we also appreciate what from the Heart Production is doing that. That's for
Thank you
sure.
for that. And so
Oh,
kind of,
absolutely, absolutely.
well, I just want to allay some fears here for people who technical at all. Do they need a tech background to use Largo?
Yeah. And the funny thing is that was also my biggest fear because I'm not a tech savvy. I'm not a tech guy. I'm not really a techie guy. So, and the answer is no, you don't. That's the beauty of Largo. You do not need to be a tech person or tech savvy even. Like the beauty is just so you know, before you get like your first, you're putting hands on the platform yourself, you even have like an onboarding training, which is with me or some of my colleagues, right? So that means you're never going to be left alone. So that means you talk to the first demo with one of our like people in the sales team, with my colleague Alex O'Keely, for example. And then if you decide to join us, then you will be, transferred to me or like to somebody else within my team. And then we give you like an onboarding training. And that is very, very important for us. We want to make sure that you get comfortable with the solution, with the technology, right? But there is no coding. I have to stress that because people always ask, so do we have to code or program something or no, 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 no. Just so you guys be rest assured, Don't have to do any coding, no programming. It is basically very simple with just a couple of clicks, right? And that's on purpose, obviously. So you can edit it. We have edit buttons. You click on the edit button, the field opens, and you just put in your details, you save it, and that's pretty much it. And as soon as you fill out certain mandatory fields, you click on the button, which is called New Analyses. You upload your script with one click, you submit it, and then you will get the answer as an analysis. That's all you have to do at the end of the day.
Oh,
So
that
very, very
sounds
straightforward.
very easy, very
Yeah, oh,
easy.
yeah, super easy, super. I mean, if I honestly, Carol, if I can do it, I really mean that. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Seriously.
Okay. Well,
Seriously.
looking ahead, tell us what's next for Largo. How is the platform evolving?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for asking. That's also very interesting. So, you probably heard we got even like some partnerships, some investment by Sylvester Stallone, even that happened just a couple of months ago, which is really nice, right? So we had the chance to present the platform to him, and he really loves the idea. I think he's a very progressive person when it comes to technology, but he also loves that it's kind of like a very hybrid form of technology. That means we provide it as an assistant, but still have the creative side. He loves that idea. And what we also working on right now for for a long time actually, is also we want to open up even to branding too. To certain people who maybe want to work on certain marketing tools or commercials or want to present certain ads or something like brand agencies, for example, is something that people are very interested in, especially when it comes to now being able to run your simulated focus groups, right? So our core clientele is obviously filmmakers. We want to work with independent filmmakers, but we also realize by having a lot of requests coming in that the brand side, agency side is also huge, and they have a huge demand for technology like this, especially again, as I mentioned, building audiences themselves, selected micro focus groups that they run to really kind of get an idea first. Okay, would that ad, that advertising, that commercial, whatever it might be, this product, would that even work for the demographic that we analyzed in the first place? And if not, what can Largo tell us about this, right? So, and that is really something that we focused on, and we even acquired two companies. I can tell this already happened a couple of months ago. We acquired a company called eScore, out of LA, and then also a company in the UK called QMind, and working heavily, obviously, to kind of increase the features that I just mentioned, also putting it all together to consolidate that all into one platform, right? So that is the kind of goal, to have even more, give people more access to even more data points, right? So, and it's really exciting what's ahead of us, to be honest. So you definitely stay tuned and just see what happens, I guess.
So would you, if I put my script in, then it might come back to me and say, there's a scene in the kitchen. Why don't you have them open the cabinet and we'll put some General Mills products on there so you can
Right.
go after them for branding? Is that the kind of thing you're thinking of?
Yes, that's a good point when it comes to product placement, for example, right? So that's definitely something we want to increase even more because we have a lot of demand, especially from brand agency, but also filmmakers, right? Especially when it comes to investments, when it comes to product placement to maybe fund your movie based on that. This is
Yes.
definitely something that we are already working on, right? One of the key features that we see on the in the like filmmaker side, but also on the branding side, because we have a lot of it's kind of interesting what I even realized we have a lot of overlap too, right? We have certain features that work for both sides, right? And I think this is one of the key things that you just mentioned that we want to have for both sides moving forward, right? So that is definitely in development right now as we speak.
Well, this is so important for filmmakers, for writers, because when
Yeah.
they're writing a script, they're really into it. But then the producer has to come along and say, wait, when they drive, you've got all these car shots. Which
Yeah.
company do you want to use? Let's go after Chevy or
Yeah.
Ford or somebody and get the cars in here. Um,
Absolutely.
something by the sea. There was a film titled that, and I think 20 to 30% of their budget was paid for by branding.
Right. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Wasn't that
this is
yeah,
financing.
I think I know what you wasn't that the movie with Ben Affleck's brother?
Yes, yes,
Casey Affleck? Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Interesting. I didn't even know this. So this movie was predominantly funded by product placement.
yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
but see, there's so much money there for filmmakers,
Yeah.
and they don't think of that
Yeah.
when writing the script. So to have Largo say, "Hey, here's an opportunity," uh,
Yeah.
and then whether
Absolutely. I mean, this is not happening as of today when it comes to, let's say, okay, the system would tell you in what situation where we should that add to the script. But what we also feel like what we had coming up also when it comes to questions is okay, is there any way to kind of like make sure that we kind of like consolidate the script a little bit, right? So what we normally even do as account managers sometimes is what I do is like working with my client and just kind of identify, hey, when it comes down to the budget and we're looking at the script right now, the scenes that you have in your script right now, do you need all the scenes to tell the story actually? Because it's interesting, and you know how it is. If like you're writing yourself, I'm a writer myself, obviously too. You have a lot of great ideas, right? And you have a lot of things in mind. And wouldn't it be great to do this scene to this with in that location or whatnot? So this is all great, but does it move the story forward? And maybe sometimes it does not really move the story forward. It would be a great shot, but it would also increase the budget for maybe 500,000, right? So the question is, do you need that now? And I always like, and I'm maybe that's my German side in me, to be honest, right? So I just talked to Claire about this. I was born in Germany, but I was also like coming up in the US, so I have kind of like a hybrid mode in my head. But I think when it comes to stuff like that, I'm trying to be also maybe realistic and also more rational. And I have this kind of very direct conversation with my clients, and I ask them, so coming back to the budget. Because we have certain filmmakers at the beginning that feel like, you know what, I can do this movie for 15 million. I just make this up. And I say, okay, well, yeah, 50 million. And then I'm asking, so this is your first feature, right? Your first ever feature movie that you're producing right now. And they say, yeah, 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 that's my first movie. And I said, okay, I totally get that. I just wanted to ask you, just want to be open to the idea. So is that the budget that you definitely need as a minimum? Coming back to what I said earlier, right? And as
right,
I'm talking to people, they realize, and you know what, if you're asking me now, I think we don't really need to do this or need to do that. And we kind of end up really being able to go down in budget. And I think it's almost sometimes like a reality check for people too, because I want to make sure, obviously, that my clients are successful. And I'm realistic knowing the industry that if you have a 50 million budget movie moving forward, as a first-time filmmaker, it's possible. It's not impossible. That's not what I'm saying. But having a positive return on investment straight away, it is obviously easier to achieve by having a budget that you could have as a minimum and can still get your movie done and completed and release it, right? And still get your money back and even make money at the box office and streaming, and then move forward maybe to your second and third project. So that's how we
exactly.
kind of navigate the conversations, especially myself with my clients, to make sure that they're going to be successful at the end, right? Financially too.
That's so important to do.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because
In closing, if somebody is listening today who wants to get started, what's the first step?
yeah, no, absolutely. So the first step is you can just reach out. You can go on www.largo.io. You can send a direct email to info@largo.io. And then my colleague Lawrence reaches out to you and we'll schedule a meeting so you can have a first demo with probably with my colleague Alex O'Keely to just give you kind of a visual idea of what I explained today. So you can get a first feel based on a demo and they can just pretty much show you in detail what this is all about that I just mentioned today. And then we're gonna again explain certain packages with you, and if it's all good, everybody's is fine. Then you can just sign up with me or one in my team. We get your onboarding, and we're ready to go. And we walk you through the platform and work on your first project. That's
Fantastic.
basically how we do it. Very straightforward.
It's very straightforward. It
Yeah,
sounds
that's
wonderful.
how I like it.
They're gonna love it. I know that. So this has been an incredibly enlightening discussion. Thank you very much. Because what you're offering filmmakers is something they've never really had before. That is a way to validate their creative instincts with real, actionable insights.
Yeah.
And this is an industry where so much comes down to risk that gives the filmmakers a powerful advantage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very well said. Thank you so much for summarizing it so well. I mean, at the end of the day, and that's why I love working with my clients so much because, obviously most of my clients are like creative people, right? Yeah, creative producers, right? But at the core, very creative people. And seeing them really having this idea and having the dream of like turning that into reality, it's just great. It's very exciting, right? Even for myself, obviously working on my own projects for so long already, I get it, right? I totally really connect to it. But again, coming back to now having the foundation down and having the technology with like rational even approach to it. Now, when it comes to running the numbers correctly, combining it with your dream, I think is the best, most effective way moving forward, right? And that's what we provide within Largo. That's the bottom line.
It's a powerful advantage. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Benjamin, for your time and for your enthusiasm and your love of filmmaking.
100%. I mean, thank you so much, Carol, for having me. I really appreciate it. I mean, what you guys do at From the Heart Productions. I mean, as I mentioned, also working with us closely when it comes to pitch events and everything. So I really appreciate that. And yes, you're absolutely right. I think we all need a purpose in life. Not everybody finds the purpose in life. I think I did, and I'm sharing it with my clients every single day. So, and that's what keeps me grounded. But I never want to, lose my creative side and also my background in technology. And for me, Largo combines it perfectly. So that's
Perfect.
why I'm here. So thanks again. Thanks for having me, sharing my story, and also the platform. And yes, guys, if you want to hear more, if you want to see a demo, you want to see it live, reach out www.largo.io or info@largo.io, and one of my colleagues reaches out to you to schedule a meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Claire, would you like to close the program?
Sure, Carol. And yes, I do want to also thank you, Benjamin. I think that Carol absolutely said it correctly when she said your enthusiasm. Definitely your enthusiasm. And I want to thank you to everyone listening to The Art of Film Funding. If you found value in today's episode, please be sure to share it with your fellow filmmakers, producers, and creatives, because the future of filmmaking isn't just about great storytelling. It's about making smarter decisions that bring those stories to life. Until next time.
Thank you from all of us.
Thank you.
Now, in its second edition, Carol Dean's popular book, The Art of Film Funding, has 12 new chapters to cover all areas of film financing and how to avoid expensive pitfalls. Learn how to start with an idea and end with a trailer, how to make an ask for money, create your story structure and your trailer, legal advice, fair use, successful crowdfunding, how to ask for music rights, and what insurance you can't shoot without. Available on Amazon under Carol Dean and at FromTheHeartProductions.com. I want to remind our listeners that David Rakelin is a brilliant and talented award-winning musician who scores films and can compose music for a trio or for a full orchestra. David is a very good friend to the independent filmmaker and comes highly recommended by From the Heart Productions. If you need music to help tell your story, please contact him at davidrakelin.com. That's David, RAIKLEN.com. And Carol and I want to thank you for tuning in to The Art of Film Funding. Please visit our website at FromTheHeartProductions.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Good luck with your films, everyone.